If you thought the president's racist tweets crossed a line, brace yourselves.
Minnesota Democratic Ilhan Omar appeared to criticize her colleagues for taking money from the Jewish lobby. She later apologized in a statement saying, "Anti-Semitism is real, and I'm grateful for Jewish allies and colleagues who are educating me on the painful history of anti-Semitic tropes." Nancy Cordes is on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Nancy, good morning to you.
Good morning. And in that apology, Omar said that she never meant to injure or hurt her constituents, particularly her Jewish constituents. And this apology comes after she issued a pair of tweets over the weekend suggesting that AIPAC, the pro-Israel lobbying group, has bought the support of her colleagues. This is not, however, the first time that Omar has had to apologize for tweets that some see as having anti-Semitic overtones. A couple of weeks ago, she said she was sorry for this tweet from 2012 in which she said, quote, "Israel has hypnotized the world." Now, Omar is one of the first Muslim women in Congress. She's one of just a couple of members of Congress who support a movement known as BDS, which calls for a boycott of Israel until property can be returned to Palestinians. Yesterday, her House Democratic colleagues circulated a letter calling on leadership to take action on what they called hateful speech. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi did just that, issuing her own blistering statement calling Omar's tweets anti-Semitic and deeply offensive. Republican leaders in the House, however, want Pelosi to go further and strip Omar of her seat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And President Trump, who has gotten into plenty of hot water for his own language, said that she should be ashamed and that her apology, Bianna, did not go far enough.
Outside the White House, we find little agreement on what U.S. values now represent.
The crowd shouts, "Send her back."
Yes, they do. It's great, isn't it? It's freedom of speech at its best.
Have you ever heard anyone say that to a white person in America?
Go back where you came from? All the time.
It's inherently racist. It would be no different than shouting the N-word across, is that free speech? No, that's hate speech.
The beauty of the First Amendment, that even though you may say things that people don't like, as long as you're not inciting violence, you can't yell fire in a theater. But I think we need to be very careful about monitoring speech through the Constitution or changing anything about our Constitution, because that can be a slippery slope also. One day, one man's hate speech is another man's freedom of speech, and I think we need to be very careful with that. But we need to call it out, what's not acceptable. Not necessarily prosecuting, but where you prosecute it is at the ballot box. People need to go and vote people out that they don't feel comfortable with the language that they're using.